welcome to this episode of Let's Talk. And so today we'll be talking and talking and talking, and we hope our talk does you, our viewers, some good business out there. But nevertheless, I'm happy that we are discussing pertinent issues that affect this nation, that affect this country, and things of that kind. And so every Tuesday at 9 p.m. we'll definitely be on the show, and we'll be on your screen here on Church of Uganda Family TV, where we enrich lives. And so every Tuesday we are here discussing serious stuff. And so today we'll be discussing one other serious thing, and that is the dream of raising up a boy child today. Parents know that there is a big challenge there. And so because they know there is a big challenge there, so you definitely want to keep your eyes and your ears alert to listen to such kind of serious stuff. A lot is done for young girls to see that they are raised, probably to be better wives and stuff like that. But little is done, little really is done for a boy child. And so we want to discuss that today. Mentorship of a boy child, the guidance that can be given to a boy child to become a more responsible citizen and perhaps a man of valor in this generation and time. So with me today in the studio is Engineer Ronald Kibuuka. And Engineer Ronald Kibuuka is one man who has been at the beam of boys to men.
Yes.
And he's the one who is carrying that vision, that mantle so far. So we'll be discussing that as per now. So Engineer, how about you say hello, and then we can dive into our discussion.
Well, thank you, Emmanuel. Good evening, viewers. It's a blessing once again to be together as we plan for the boy child, as we plan for an area where the development of the family unit and eventually the nation starts from. It's really a blessing that we are having this in the new month, the first day of the new month. What a blessing. We glorify God and we thank the Lord for the far He has brought us. And Emmanuel, I want to let you know that when a time like this comes, we do have all reasons to thank the mighty God that we're here and we're standing. We bless the Lord, and I pray that as we stand together in sharing and planning and debates, each one of us will be helping another to learn, because iron sharpens iron, to learn how we're going to mentor the boy child for the betterment of our families and eventually the nation, because men of valor, that's what we expect from them. Thank you so much.
By the way, it is 1st of November, so just to remind some of you who could not be following track of these kind of things, today is the 1st of November, so be sure we have a few weeks to get to December, to get to Christmas, which is definitely Advent, and Christmas carols will be around the corner and stuff like that. I'm sure many of you have memories about Christmas and what you used to do during Christmas time. So just be warming for Christmas. Just to let you know, Christmas is around the corner, and you need to be ready to celebrate the birth of the Son who saved us. So now, straight to our discussion for today.
Yes.
The dream of a father in raising a child. In particular today, if we can concentrate on the boy child. Why is it still a dream up to today?
Thank you, Emmanuel. Why a dream? You know, a successful mind will never stop dreaming. Every day you dream about something new. Every day you dream about a new development. But the moving or walking the talk of implementing the dreams that somebody has is the most challenging bit that we all undertake. And when we say a dream, that's the beginning of it. However, it's a dream of every living father, every father, to see a developmental state of a young man that comes out of him. And in our culture, it's clearly embedded that inheritance is passed on to a boy child. Much as situations are trying to do a little change, but that one is even biblical. Because if you look at the biblical settings, also when you read through the two books of the kings, the first king and second kings, you could see the inheritance of leadership from father to son, son, like that. So a boy could always inherit the leadership, the management from the father. So every father would dream that the one to whom I pass the mantle should be this kind of character, should be this person of this caliber. And that's why we call it a dream, because a father strives to achieve that. So today is still a strong dream in the situation that all around we see that a boy child is kind of neglected or left out. But the girl child is raised at each and every level. In fact, sometimes you find even a man standing up firmly into the development of a girl child. But when they have not done anything to see to it that they are developing a boy child. And the much we've developed the girl child, it's good. We are saying it's good. But it has created a gap. And the gap that is created, we are now seeing the challenging that come with it, or the challenges that come with it. Because there are many challenging situations. The absentee fathers, unavailable fathers, irresponsible fatherhood, too many things. The drug-related issues, So those are the kind of things that we want a father to maneuver through to realize the dream of having a boy well raised. Realizing the dream of raising a boy child into a man of valor. So that's why we call it a dream.
So
and
should we say that it is still a dream to some men?
To some men, in
Even
fact,
those who have children who are adults now.
bigger percentage is still a dream. Reason being, Emma, don't be surprised to find a 45-year-old when he's a boy. There are 50-year-olds who are boys, who have not moved or who have not been mentored into men, when they are still behaving childish. I remember a scenario where I saw a man, very big man, has a home and but he was crying before his wife, saying, me, I'm a mommy's boy, I'll go to my mother. Is that a man really? He's still a boy, because he was crying to his wife because he was I'm a mommy's boy. At 45 or 50 or something, somebody's a mommy's boy. And there are so many out there. Even the way they behave, the way they do some things, you see. But is this a well-mentored, organized somebody? And in fact, unfortunately, some of those people, they have got those they call sons, and we expect them to mentor them. And let me tell you, to be precise, you cannot give what you don't have. Somebody who has never been mentored right, who has never gone through the stages to be a well-set man, to be a man of valor, cannot pass on that because doesn't have it. So there's no way you can expect a miracle. And actually, I want to let people know, all the viewers, raising of children, and most of the boy child, please count it out of the miracles. It's not miraculous. It's a day-to-day job. It's a strive we have to undertake each and every minute. Because the moment you don't expect a miracle to happen. And precisely, it cannot happen. It's a strong duty that you have to undertake and work upon it. And that's why our fathers, our parents, some of us who can stand and you can count on us, they did this job on a daily basis. They walked the journey each and every day. And they strived through hardships to make this be. Now, mistakenly, some of these men we are talking about, they tend to think that if everything, what they call everything in terms of materialistic is in place, if a child asks for this, can have it. If a child wants this school, can go to this school. If a child wants to put on this, yes, it can be available. If a child wants this laptop or tabloid or this phone, it can be available. Then that means that somebody is raising a child because the child is happy. Quite often in raising of children, you can even create a situation of lackness whereby something is not available. It's part of the shaping and guiding of a young man. In terms of lackness, in terms of the absence of this or the other, if I cannot get all I need as I need it, then what happens? That one is one way of raising a child, guiding a child through. But now wait a minute. Are we ready to guide the children through the steps we want to undertake also a boy child? Because it starts from the very life, the practical life a dad lives. Because this child looks at the dad, the way he lives, the way he walks, the way he eats, the way he talks, the way he does things, what he does. In fact, just get back. When we were growing up, children could be we were children as well, but we are highly interested in some things that we saw our parents do, more so fathers. You see, these girls, they used to run in the kitchen, and you see that they could get some small things of theirs trying to do some cooking. They create some of their small kitchens and prepare. And me, I'm the mother, you call me mother. And, act mother, father. They had that. We, the boys, we could strive so much to see to it that we are building. You are putting something like a house. In fact, we used even to get wires and make vehicles. You do a vehicle. You are doing something because you are seeing your father can do it. Your father is doing something. You want to emulate the father. And then the role of a father was to guide a young man through the stages. A man does this, you grow like this, you do this, you do this, you do this. In fact, I remember they used to tell us, you are supposed to make sure that your sister is safe. You don't just have to let the sister walk alone. They can beat her, they can do this. So it's you to protect your sister from whichever environment. And we used to be guided that way. Even when it was during carrying maybe heavy things or luggage or some work or jerrycans of water, it should be the boy to carry the heaviest, but not the girl. Because they were being taught how to really lead these girls, how to manage them by our parents. And we used to see them as well as they used to do the hard work at home, how to do things that can bring the family together. You could see that the father is involved and is doing such kind of things. So we learned from that. Now, when today you see it's the father driving, a 10-year-old wants to drive because the father is driving. And the dad might not guide the young man. And the young man sometimes, or quite often, they go astray. And you find a 10-year-old getting into an accident or anything because it's not guided.
So now, again, engineer.
Yes.
How should parents inspire their children to what they want them to become?
Okay, thank you, Emmanuel. In the line of inspiration, first and foremost, the parent, as we saw in the previous discussion, we saw that children used to do a lot of things trying to emulate the parents, and by the guidance of parents, they could go all the way and they could learn quite a lot from it. Now, in the inspiration, the first stage of inspiring a boy child, in raising a boy child, is that you, the inspirer, the parent, the dad yourself, the life you live, is that life full of inspiration? Can it create an interest into this boy to let me emulate? Can I emulate this? Can I emulate my father on this or the other? Because in terms of development, these children develop from one stage to another. But you dad out there, remember that every stage or every step you take, they are watching you. And every step they grow with you. They are trying to emulate you. So a good father, everybody will strive, your child will strive to emulate the character of a good father. What's the character of that father? I remember when we were growing up, there are some men we used to see. They were drinking themselves all the way. They become stupid. They fall on the roadside. They do funny things. Some they could beat their wives. They fight. And we could not even like to associate with them. We were children, but we used to know that these are bad characters. So there is no child who wishes to associate with a bad character. Any good character that you have is an inspiration, because a child would wish to copy it. The boy would wish to look like you. The boy would wish to be like you. You see, even the boys now these days, in fact, even olden days, they see somebody driving, they try to hold on a steering, trying to emulate how driving skills are. or even doing something, or riding a bike, or in fact, even naming themselves. If they see somebody who was a good footballer, they could name themselves against hope. Like that footballer, I'm so and so, I'm so, because they want to emulate. And they can emulate an inspiration. If somebody is an inspiration, they could try to do that. And it's not right from that time. It started long ago, because when we get the Bible, we'll look at a man called Abraham. When he was raising Isaac, he moved with Isaac each and every step. And the level of obedience that Isaac took was exactly from the father. And he was the only son. But he was organized well and could take the steps of learning from the father, because the father was that father who had the character that the son could wish to emulate. Now, the first stage is to have that character that your son could strive to emulate. Can I be like so-and-so? Can I look like so-and-so? Can I be like this father? In fact, I remember even when we were growing up, some used to say, I wish so-and-so was my father. I wish so-and-so was my father. Why? Because there was those special characters those fathers used to have. The special things that they used to be of interest for others to emulate, which were inspirational to others. So that big character of you being an inspirational is too great for a father to build. If your character is bad, not even your son would wish to emulate that character. That's why you hear some young men say, I don't want to be like that father. I don't want to be like my father. And why? My father drinks, my father does this, my father is the responsible father. In fact, some even take a step. Today, we see reasonable young men taking a step to say, let's pray for my father. I need to pray for my father. Why? Because the life the father lives is not a life worthy emulating. It's not an inspirational life. So, a father who has a dream of mentoring a boy child well, you must be an inspirational. You must live a life that inspires the son to emulate. Every step, every word, every act of you must be that of a good character and a good value that will inspire this young man to emulate. So I'll say, be an inspirational to the young man in the life you live, in the acts you do. That will make it very much easier for any father to realize the dream that you want your son to be. Being an inspirational is very key. So, a man out there, you don't need to strive so much to gather wealth for this young man or what. No. Just build the character, a good character in this young man. Building this young man into a rightful person is more valuable than gathering riches for this young man. Because we've seen quite a number of examples where they have gathered riches, they are there for, in the name of my son, my son distribute to them. But before even somebody dies, those things have been taken away. They are even sold. They have no trace. Why? Because the one to whom you left them was not organized. You just organized items or things for him, but himself is not organized. And in the other instances where things might not even be passed on to, you might be quickening up the steps to your grave, because an organized young man is like a bomb about to blast. I remember, Emmanuel and viewers, I remember one time I was going to one of my farms in Ruero, and we interacted. We stopped somewhere with the people I was traveling with. Then we stopped somewhere, and a young man came, and he was admiring the car I was driving, the vehicle I was driving. This vehicle. So, as you know, people getting with that. But how much is it? How much? And then he said, but how much? So he wanted to know how much. And nobody told him the price. But I said, it must be very expensive. And then he told the friends that, the problem I have is that this old man is not dying. But if he is to die, I can sell the land and at least drive this vehicle. So, isn't that now quickening the father into his grave? And quite often we've seen these examples happening where sons go against their fathers and they want to kill them in the name of passing on the riches to them. But an organized son will start from nothing, but he will start on the character built in him. And I want to let you know, if I'm not mistaken, you will put me right. I believe, Emmanuel, the character built in you is the one you are moving with. It's that character on which you base yourself to move each and every day life and acquire what you are having. Am I right?
Yeah.
So, a well-built young man with a good character will not need to go and attack the father or fight the father to pick inheritance, but will use the built-up that is in you to start life from nothing to something. So, that's what we call the dream of building a young man into a man of valor. Because such a humble beginning with a clear shape will make you take steps to the top.
Now, with that kind of, you're making good insights, I should say.
Yes.
About the inspirational counsel.
Yes.
Inspirational guidance. But then now, if you have inspired this young man,
yes,
this young boy into something, what happens? Who mentors them? Now that we have a lot of absentee fathers who appear on Christmas Day, and sometimes you don't want to blame them because they're hunting for some little bread that the family would definitely feed on.
Yes.
Some men are maybe also, they're also boys in their own way, being that they were not parented.
I think that's what I'll take. Because no matter the bread you are looking for, whichever way, if you are available, your presence will always be felt. And there will be no gap whatsoever. Because at the end of the day, me, Emmanuel, and the other one, we are all doing the same thing to make our families be. But what you need to do is to balance the way you do things. You cannot say, okay, I've gone into the cave and then when the Christmas comes, I'll raise up and appear, and then after Christmas, then I'll get back into the ditch. All that time you've not left it to. Whom have you left it to? Because mentoring a boy child into a man of valor is a daily job. It's a daily job. You don't give chances. You don't leave a gap. You just need to work with this young man each and every day. And then create that relationship. Because by nature, as men, we are strong-hearted. In fact, you'll find even that a nanny-guided young man will always be in his own world. But guiding a young man into a man of valor is very critical, and it's done on each and every day basis. You must be available in his life. You don't know what it means, Emmanuel, to just take a roll around on the floor with a young crawling baby, your young man crawling around, and he sees you and you play those games and what? The other day he jumps on you, you know, comes, you've just gotten back from work, he jumps on you, you are there, you are chatting, you are interacting into a language which is hard for you to understand, but you are interacting. That bonding, it moves from one step to the other. It moves daily. Daddies were known for being hard. You know, sometimes we even hold the sticks. But you find that a young man would always cry to see his dad, and he's, you know, even though sometimes the dad say, you, but the love, the bonding, is a daily thing we do. So that even when we move to other stages of growth, we remain bonded. We remain moving together. We remain in that line of oneness. Therefore, when it comes to mentorship, a person you've guided and inspired will easily be mentored. Because you who is taking the lead, you are that person who is trustworthy, in whom that young man can confide and say, yes, this one is a real man. This one's a real father. By practice, by action, by words, you are that father who can be emulated. So if you bring a line of mentorship, it will be easily taken. That young man will be in it, and he will put the ear down to listen to your wisdom. But a man who cannot practically live and be an inspirational, you can hardly bring wisdom into a life of a young man. But there are so many people there we find, when you've not been with them or grown with them, you're not the real father, but you become an inspiration in their life, and eventually become a mentor, and they take on the line you've given them, and they become great men of valor. This we can do from whichever angle, based on the character in you. I want to let you know, today I was lucky. I had the time with some staffs in URA, and we had a time of talking. They were fathers, and eventually in the backyard there were some mothers, young mothers who were listening. And they said, "But we are inspired by this talk. We are inspired by the line fathers are taking." That means that even the mothers out there is a burden. Even fathers, the way we walk, there's a burden. And the fathers, before even you take a step to think anything else loudly, you must critically know that that young boy in your hands you are raising is your inheritance. That boy is the really offspring of you, is your own blood, is your own son, is the carrier of your family lineage. That's the truth. Your family lineage is carried by that young man. Some of us, we can talk about our fathers as the late. We refer to them as the late because they are gone. But look, we still stand in the gap, and somebody can know that so and so, that one is so and so's son. That one is so and so's son. The good work in you is attributed to the gone man because he did a good job. And mark you, our fathers did that when they were not highly educated and when they were not having much onto their hands. But they had the great character. They had a great character in them. They had great values that they had to pass on. Now, you, the father who is having this son today, what are the values you are passing on to that son? What values do you have in you that can be emulated in the life of that son? At a time like this, when the world is highly challenged, with quite a number of wrong things happening, right from personal level, and then stretching to immorality, then you get to a level of where the world is gone crazy, where people are acting upside down. How will that young man whom you call your son maneuver through these challenges of the day to become a great person at the end of the times? That's the biggest question you must ask yourself as a father. So basically, look at that young man as your own inheritance. That son is your own inheritance, and nobody from anywhere who is going to do the job that you are supposed to do to make that young man who is your son a useful person for today, tomorrow, to himself, to your family, and to the entire world. That's your job.
A family that has a well-brought-up young girl will definitely not be a very good one for a young man who has not been raised up well and parented well by the ones who should have done what they should have done. So by the mere fact that some people have decided to be absent as far as their role is concerned, and more so their primary role, not just secondary but primary, they are breaking the rest of the future of other people who should be doing something else to take this country and nation to another level. So I'm still with Engineer Kibuuka, and we are still discussing parenting of a boy child, raising a boy child to become a man of valor. So Engineer,
yes,
this business, this full-time job, I should actually say a full-time unpaid job,
yes,
should it be left only to fathers and mothers?
Thank you, Emmanuel. Not really. You know, when we're growing up, we do cherish the African sayings and proverbs. One of them is that raising up a child takes a village. So in this, we recognize that in doing this job, they are partners. We must move with the partners. The first person to carry the mantle is the father. The immediate partner of the father is the mother. And then That's followed by other family members. There could be the aunties, the uncles, the what, all those are inspirational. But again, we stretch to another level where we find the villagements, other elders around the environment where the child grows. Those are all partners. Let's move to the school. The teachers are partners. University lecturers at all levels, they are partners. So we could always find partners at different levels. Even in the medical world, because a child might be turned around by the counsel of a medical personnel, maybe in areas related to alcoholism and drugs. And the medical brain speaks into the life of this man or young man known to be part of some dangerous substances which can damage his well-being. And that one can be also an inspiration and a line of guidance, mentoring, so that the young man does not fall into a ditch. So there's partnership.
Engineer, let's face the real Uganda we are in today.
Yes.
Forget about the Uganda of your fathers.
Yes.
And your great fathers. We were discussing the Uganda where if you touched somebody's son, in a thought of correcting them, you definitely find yourselves in police.
Yes.
For the reason, why have you beat my child?
Yes.
We are in a nation today where even in schools, if the child is punished, fine, there are bits where it goes extra beyond. But you really see the moment you touch somebody's child, you are tampering with the untamperable with. And yet you just said that it takes a community to raise a child.
Exactly. Emmanuel and the listeners and viewers, I will take you to the very big note where Emmanuel has just made mention. And if you are to do comparison, you will take the two differences right clear or at your fingertips. The Uganda you talked about where we were raised and grew up, it was that Uganda of full responsibility, whereby responsibility was shared among the partners we talked about. And we are products of that. Today, you are also comparing a situation where my child is my child and my child is my child. And you are seeing the product of it. I bet anyone viewing, or even Emmanuel, wake up tomorrow and walk to Botabika and do a study and find out how many young men are there in the Botabika with the situation related to drug abuse and alcoholism who have gone astray. Why? Because my child shouldn't be touched. And let me tell you, we are getting back to the other Uganda. Today you are seeing religious leaders are doing a very big job of helping and mentoring and building these young people, as we talked about partners. The government went wrong on this raising of a child. And I remember, and I will mention it, when we were designing the 1996 Children's Statute, I made mention that we are looking at the basic needs of a child and providing them. But you are leaving out one basic need, and that was child guidance. It was not embedded there, it was left out. But every child needs proper guidance. Even though you give what without proper guidance, the child will go astray. The government went ahead and adopted the Western kind of draft which talk about the rights of a child. And it was about the rights and the rights and the rights. And in the pretext of the rights, what happened is that the responsibility of raising a child was shifted to that. Because Emmanuel, we agree, me and you and the rest, we who were raised by such responsible communities and fatherhood and parenthood, we are not broken into pieces. We are still standing strong because the needed values were taught and cherished and moved by them. Right now, you find a 13-year-old or 10 or 12 or 15 does not have a time or minute to listen to the wise counsel of a father or an elder. That child will wish even to stand and fight or question the elder. What are you saying? You are worn out. You are nothing. You are nothing. Forgetting that wisdom comes from above. That's why I and you and the rest of the person, when we get down, we look up to our Father in heaven and pray and ask for wisdom. Meaning, every person, every elder above you is above in wisdom. And you should seek wisdom and the knowledge from that elder. So that's passed on to you and it becomes variable to you and in your life. So that's where we go astray. And the government realized that really there was that misconception by the Western powers, because they came with the projects, and among the projects they wanted to make sure that there's destruction of the family unit, whereby they separate a father and the mother. And you know, the women emancipation, it took a certain trend. Then that was followed by the rights of the child. So that a father who is guiding his family well is rendered helpless. And then these two, they go astray, and them, they will penetrate with what they want to pass there. And you can see the characters related to homosexuality, lesbianism, all those gay things, they attribute that because they looked at a weakened up process. The other time, a young man went around all the social media, called Mukisa, talking about how he was molested, and they are doing too much of those things, and they are paying over 5 million to a 17-year-old boy. The line is destruction, and they just want to finish us. That's the trend they are taking. And unless when we wake up to reality and say, no, these are not our norms, and in fact, I will tell you, in a bigger society, when somebody passes and people recognize that that one is a homo or is involved in those kind of characters, that person is isolated. Nobody wants even to get close to such a person. In fact, you remember even we used to have too many strong things that happened between wars between or among the pastors. These are homos, these are what, these are what, these are what, these are what. And it was not so well with society because it's not part of us. It's a wrong character. It's not welcome to us. So we'll slowly get back, and you hear the government now calling on. We are calling on parents, local leaders, local communities, please involve in the mentorship and guiding and raising of children. Now they are calling back to what it used to be. Why? Because they went astray and they were misguided. Now the products of what we see is this. That's why you see we have the Kifesi, the young men, very young, 15, 10, 13, the B14, the what, trying to terrorize everybody. They are putting these pavers into caveras and they hit people. They are doing all kind of havoc, stealing and doing what? So even the powers and leadership that be, they are feeling now the problem of this. When we grew up, by the time we grew up, of course I could say, maybe there were some few numbers of street children, but they were not as big as the numbers are today. Right now, a child as young as 10 raises voice against the father or mother and runs away from the home. And the following day, you'll find that child on the street. We never used to have such. We never even used to listen to any other person from outside because we were guided that you are confined into the hands of. In fact, they could guide us to listen to elders and respect them. But the final word was to be taken from the father and the mother. For example, you are not supposed to go eating from any home. You are not going to eat from anywhere. You are not begging anybody for anything. You don't stop and ask somebody for some money or anything. Or no. You cannot even stop somebody and ask for a lift. No. But you can kneel, greet somebody, and that's all. You don't go beyond that. You show respect to a person. That's all. In fact, it's for us, they used to ask us to, you pull a bicycle for an elder. You could even get to the hill. You get the bicycle, you pull it. As you get off the hill, you hand it back. Then that elder can ride and go and leaves you walking. So it used to happen. But you are not even supposed to ask him for a lift. You see? So we are taught to help elders.
That was then.
Yes.
We are looking at a society where you're given, a mother is given maternity leave.
Yes.
Of 2 weeks.
Yes.
Of 1 month. And before you notice the daycare, definitely will have to raise up this child. You're looking at nursery schools as early as. Some of us started school when we were 5 years.
Yes.
And you had all the time with your mother.
Yes.
With your father.
Yes.
I mean biological.
Yes.
And they took time. Now,
Yes.
we are looking at young people who understand an iPhone at the age of 6 years. You understand? My little son nowadays can gather all our phones in the house and he knows this is the phone.
Yes.
Little as he is, 1
Yes.
year and a few months.
Yes.
He knows the phone.
Yes.
Now, we have IT influencing the growth of a child. How are we going to panel beat beyond this kind of things?
No, we can't.
Where you're in a society, the father comes back and is on WhatsApp, the mother is on WhatsApp, the house girl is in charge of the house.
Yes.
How are we going to prune up a society of responsible people with nursery schools, with daycare, with civil society, safeguarding children's rights and all these kind of things?
Let's get back to our values. We talked about values and character. If you are that kind of father who your time is on phone and the mother, of course that's the character you are building. Because these phones and what they are gadgets we use, and we regulate them. In fact, you can be Emmanuel in the home, but you cannot be satisfied with what you get and what you can do. In fact, even though you are getting maybe 800,000, a million shilling a month as a father, you want to rent a house of 500,000. Instead of renting a house of 150 or 200, then you manage your home, so that this mother will be able to take care of these little ones up to a certain age as they grow in her own care and hands, and you as you support the family. But what happens? You are earning 1 million. You want your child to go to a school where he's paying 2 million. You want an apartment of 1.5 million. So you have to work. The mother has to work, and nobody is there to shape the life of this child. What you do, you get a maid whom we are going to pay 80,000, and you get a maid into the life of a child. When you get back, you cannot even compensate that time. It's your phone. The mother is on the phone. The dad is on the laptop. That's the life you are building up by yourself. It's your own character, and it's what you are building up. The young people can regulate this, and you can regulate it nicely. Well, let me tell you, you said your hardly 1 year or 2 years boy is very busy with the phone. Let me tell you, I have P5 going class. My last born is P5 class. But you cannot even say that I'm on your phone or I find the phone or anything. No. He has no business with the phone. Nothing. I have senior 4. When she just have to call you, give her phone, she talks to somebody, but she cannot even ask you that, Daddy, I need a phone. And when you ask them about phone, they say, but Daddy, I don't need a phone. For what? It's not my time to have a phone. I don't need it. And even studying these times when they were COVID, what, Zoom, what, the laptop is there. I bought laptops for them and they're using them. And they're busy. It's also electronic, but if it's not connected to internet and what, they can use it. You regulate it. My children are not like they're pushing me for the phone or what. They know I can afford, I can give them phones. But I don't need them. Why? I have guided them. Because we guide each other on each and every step to live. And they know when I'll need this, and now I don't need it. At school, people talk about phones, what, but they're saying that's not our class. We are not that group. In fact, they told me that those who call themselves the rich gang, the what, as you hear people outside do things. But I'm not part of it. No, that for us, we're not taken up by that. It's not our thing. So a child will know right from home and guidance and mentorship that this is not my thing. This is not my thing. And the moment the child knows that this is not my thing, will grow in that guided life. But now, I want to take a note of, I think in Uganda we call it malo. There is a malo around us. And this malo is taking us off. That's why where you find somebody struggling to buy a smartphone for a primary kid, that's malo. For what now? What business is the primary kid going to do with a smartphone? Or even a secondary level, what for? Even a university child might need it, but a university child who needs a laptop more than a phone. You know? So that kind of life that we live, or of thinking that modernity is a lifestyle. People don't know what modernity is. They think it's just a lifestyle. When you do it, you are modern. You do it, you give the child this, and then your child sounds modern, so the child looks modern, fits in this society or the other. That's where we go wrong. These phones, they have led people astray. Even as big as me, married people. Marriages have failed because of phones. People are struggling with their marriages because of phones. Now, if you, a mature person, cannot regulate your phone and you do funny things with it and it even ruins your marriage, what about this little brain? Why are you corrupting this little brain with the phone? Just have to mentor and guide this child well, and at an opportune time, that child will be able to use the phone. We'll tap into it and use it rightly. Now, people are struggling. Just look at the low-income earners or medium-income earners. People are struggling. You'll find the lady struggling with a primary kid or even a nursery kid. They go in a very expensive salon to do her hair. And you wonder, doing a little girl's hair, for heaven's sake. Some children are even, they have got damage in their heads and brains and what. The mother is struggling to do the hair. In
They
fact,
need to
at
look
the
good.
expense of even school fees or any other needs. Why? Doing the hair.
They need to look good.
Maro.
Thank you so much for catching up with us on Church of Uganda Family TV. I want to borrow engineer's word, malo. Don't live a malorized life with a malorized behavior. Till we catch up again next Tuesday here on Church of Uganda Family TV, where we enrich lives. From I and the team, it's a good night. God bless you. God bless Uganda. Till we meet again.